What I really admire in you is that George never takes something as the truth.
For granted.
Yeah.
Never takes anything for
whenever
granted.
something is on the news or in a newspaper, he's always like, is that true?
I would say our lives clearly changed. Before collecting, we had different interests. So we're talking before 1995. And we were living a regular life. We were living in Spain for a large part. And our life changed dramatically when we started collecting. Because our life now, in the last 30 years, has been subjected to our collecting activities. We talk about it probably every day. We look at paintings probably every day. And we manage the collection, which is growing and therefore is more and more activity to manage.
We met Rob and we went to Sotheby's and Christie's and the auctions, and we had TEFAF. TEFAF really changed my life completely because most of the collectors were much older. And in a way, my life has been influenced by Angelique Noordman. So she guided me through all the simple stuff, like how to dress. That was not my thing, really. So when we got introduced to people of captains of industry, art collectors,
museum
people, it was really a complete change of lifestyle. I can't imagine a life without art anymore. It did not only change our lives,
it
changed their lives too.
Yeah.
It's a big responsibility for Joel as well. And we feel very blessed that our son is involved in the Kremer Collection and that he feels love for the collection.
Yeah.
It took some time, and that is normal. We started something, and I can imagine that modern art or something colorful is much more interesting for young people to look at.
He must have wondered quite a few times what his parents were up to. Old masters, these darkish paintings, that sort of thing. But when we started talking about digital versions and how to use the digital era for spreading the news about the collection, that's when he became really interested, because that's his background with Google. He also fell in love in certain ways, yes. It was especially the VR, the virtual reality museum, and the fact that you could zoom in on a painting big time and thereby see things that you might not even see with, when you're very close up to the painting, that he started really becoming interesting and thought that was cool. And it is cool.
For us too.
And for us too,
we learned a lot through his eyes. And
I even learned from our granddaughter, because she noticed in a certain painting that there was a waterfall somewhere, in the distance. And something that you don't normally would easily see. But she saw it.
It's a connection within the family. It's really part of the family.
Yeah.
It's something that goes far deeper than just a painting on the wall. I do think that what we created is a love story. The love was there from the beginning, and we've been together now 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the art really makes this relationship even better.
Yes.
Because there's always something to talk about. There's always a new painting coming up that you've never seen before, or something you have memories with, or you recognize, or you say, what do you think? No, we still don't like it. There's always something going on, and that makes it very interesting. Also between us, you learn a lot about each other too. Taste-wise, you sometimes disagree about things. And then when you start looking at a painting you want to buy, because the other disagrees, then you still look a little bit more. And maybe sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes you go like, yeah, maybe you're right.
It's also sometimes, actually, there she is right. It sometimes is a process where a painting grows on you.
Yeah.
You have, it's a painting where you say, well, not crazy about it.
No.
But sometimes you just have to maybe put it on your desk, if it's not too big, of course, and just look at it. And then it could grow on you. That has happened actually quite a few times. And it means that you learn in the process, because you're trying to visualize how it fits in the collection. You're trying to understand the painting. You try to understand the story. And that's a fascinating process. We've met a lot of interesting people. We've actually traveled a lot, yes, because you visit museums. You actually go on museum tours where you say, okay, we'll take 10 days and we'll go through the Midwest in the States and look at all these museums and look at what they have in terms of Dutch art and Flemish art.
Robert Nordman really took us by the hand in the beginning.
In the beginning, yes.
He really started to take us by the hand. And whenever we would go to New York, to Sotheby's or Christie's, to the big sales, or London, he would take us to musea. For example, if there would be, well, the name just comes up now, Frans Hals. And there would be a Frans Hals for sale at an auction house. He would show us and say, hey, look at the eyes, look at the hands, look at the way his clothes are being painted.
Yeah.
And then he would take us in New York to the Frick or to one of the other museums, and he would go straight to a certain painting. He would say, hey, look at the eyes. Yeah? You really see how he painted a glove or a nose, eyes, it doesn't matter. And then he would bring us back to the sales room and we would compare. And he called that cleaning your eyes. Oogjes wassen.
Oogjes wassen.
And this is how he started to educate us to not just go to a sales room and just look at the plate and said, oh, Frans Hals or Holbenmauer, it doesn't matter who it was. But really, George did it much, much better than I. I just go by the heart. I like a painting or I don't. Sometimes I'm a little too fast, and sometimes I just don't like a painting. It's so funny. George asked me probably 3 times, Ilone, how do you feel about this painting? It was a flower piece. And I looked at it and I said, nah, don't like it. Ilone, have a good look. It's really a good painting, have a good look. So 3 times.
She said no, really... this was before the auction. Then Robert Nordman buys it. It's a very rare, it's a great painting by a female artist, by the way. And so I said, okay, we'll see. And then, of course, we saw it hanging in the Pan in Amsterdam in 2006.
Yeah.
And Rob Noordman was already very ill. But he came one day to the Pan in Amsterdam. And they had the lijster, the Judith lijster, hanging there on the wall.
And we were sitting just like this, and George and Rob were talking, and my eye is drawn to this painting. And so I go to George, what is this? I really like it. And he goes like, what? Really? I said, I don't know what it is, but it's such a good painting. So at the end of the day, we bought it from Rob. And now it's an emotional painting for me because it was the last painting we bought from him just before he died.
Yeah.
I will always remember that story. And I remember when we had it at an exhibition and I had to talk about it, I started to cry. Because again, it's love, and every painting has his own story.
Has its own story, yeah.
What I really admire in you is that George never takes something as the truth.
For granted.
Yeah.
Never takes anything for
whenever
granted.
something is on the news or in a newspaper, he's always like, is that true? And it's the same with the art. He just follows his intuition and he puts the money where his mouth is. I mean, he really takes chances. I think that George has a big advantage being a businessman. The way he understands how people react when you're bidding. There's something inside of him that knows almost exactly where to stop or when to accelerate a little bit. It happened not too long ago.
Like 2 days ago.
Yes, we bought a painting and the way he did it was so smart. You always know that there is a certain turning point and he knows exactly how to grab that point, that he will be the winning bid.
Come out on top.
And so, yeah, you're smart. You're super smart.
I admire Ilone for her taste and her intuition. I always ask her opinion about paintings, by the way. Even when I see them at the first time. So I call her, I get them on, let's say, a picture on internet, and I call her and say, what do you think of this? And that is always a serious question, because she has developed an eye for 17th century Dutch and Flemish art. Where our collection is quite different from most other private collections, I should say, is that we don't have a sort of a set list of people, of artists that we need to have or think we need to have in the collection. That's not how it works. We try to buy
unusual paintings.
Unusual or special paintings. What do I mean by that? Well, it could be a relatively unknown artist, but it would be the first of its kind in existence today. I find that fascinating for a number of reasons. If the painting on top of that is attractive and I can afford it, then bingo, you have potentially an interesting painting. Because it is attractive, you can afford it, and it's the first of its kind, and therefore will always be asked for future exhibitions, for instance, on that artist or on that subject.